Hi, it's time for another Bang for Your Book hot seat. And I am Vicky Quinn Fraser. And today I am here with the wonderful and marvelous and amazing Team Moxie member, Kelly Cordell Morris, and I will bring her in a moment. And we are going to be tackling a burning question that Kelly has about her book. But just before we start, if you would like a free hot seat to ask a question of me and borrow my brain about your book, then you can absolutely do that. You can go to and I am absolutely looking at my notes, moxiebooks.co.uk/bang for your book hot seat, and there's a hyphen in between each of those words because that's how I roll. So without further ado or blathering, I am gonna introduce the lovely Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for joining me.
Welcome.
Do you want to tell us a bit about who you are and why you're here?
Sure. So I'm Kelly.
Hi.
I have a ridiculous surname. We won't say any more about that.
Well, I mean,
there is only one of me. I've Googled it a number of times. There is only one of me. I am an engineer. I like to identify myself as an engineer still for the time being. But I also run a business working with overly reactive and aggressive dogs and their owners.
Amazing. And I know Kelly a little bit, and I know that she does amazing work. So if you have an overly reactive dog, or you're an overly reactive owner, that's how I like to hear that. Then
that works too.
I know, right? I find myself funny anyway. Okay, so Kelly, what's your question? Because I know you've been thinking about writing a book for a while. So tell us a little bit about what you're thinking about and what can I help you with today? What's your question?
So I have many ideas for books, not all even dog related. And I've had many ideas for many years. I've spoken to you about writing a book for a long time. And I've got a couple of outlines. I've even written a couple of things for them in that outline. But it never really gets off the ground. Part of the trouble, part of what I'm going to blame it on is that I work full time as an engineer and then I'm running the business on the side. I don't have an awful lot of free time, and a lot of the free time I do have is about writing content for the business. I'm not particularly good at doing that either. So what I don't, my question is a bit convoluted. I don't know how to do this. I feel like I want to write a book, but maybe I don't because I'm not doing the writing. Yeah, but I feel like I have stuff to say and I don't know how to make myself do it. And I know you're going to have things to say about making yourself do things.
No, I
am. But also having been fairly newly diagnosed with ADHD, I don't know how much of that is playing a part in this and how much of it I'm using as an excuse. I don't know. What I'd quite like is what a lot of my clients would like, and a magic wand, and for somebody to just fix it.
Yeah. Well, as a fellow ADHDer, hi. I get that. I get the struggle, and I think that probably is a part of it, and also the fact that you're newly diagnosed with it as well. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on that you're going to need to you're going to be working through. And I know that we've talked about this as well. But so there's a couple of things happening here, and I think from the gist of what you've just said is it's a case of have I got an idea and how am I actually going to get started? And they're all kind of tied into one. And I'm absolutely going to jump on the word make because we can make ourselves do things for a short space of time. And then that only carries us so far. And I know that you know that. And you can apply some of your dog behavioral wisdom to the human behavioral wisdom as well. And I know that you know that too. So that's something to kind of go and think about. But yeah, I'm really a big fan of making stuff fun. And so my suggestions to you would be, especially if you've got a bunch of ideas and you're not sure which is the right one or if any of them are the right one. And like you said, maybe you don't want to write a book and that is okay as well. Like maybe now is not the right time and that's also okay. I don't know if that's going to be the answer for you. I don't know if that's the thing that you're going to discover out of all this. But what I would suggest to help you find out is have a think about those ones that you've kind of started and stopped, the ones that are kind of pulling you. Just have a little bit of a write about them or a think about them or an interpretive dance about them, whatever it is that works for you in a kind of creative way. And it's like, think about why it pulled you in the first place. And I know this is going to sound like a homework exercise, but it's not, because you don't have to write this. You can speak it, you can think it, you can go for a walk, you can think about it. All I would like you to do is spend a little bit of time thinking, okay, this idea, what pulled me to it in the first place? Why am I feeling called to write it? Will it be fun? Is it something that I feel excited about writing, or is it something that I feel like I should write? Or is it both? Because that is awesome. If it's both, then that's awesome. And when you start getting those thoughts out of your head and onto whatever medium feels appropriate, that could be really helpful, because you can start looking at that and thinking, okay, well, I'm being pulled in this direction or that direction, or maybe in two directions. And I've got currently several books half written on my hard drive, and I'm kind of working on a couple at the same time. So that's a thing that can happen as well. Not everyone can do that. Some people can. So I would suggest starting with that and just kind of thinking about your idea and like, who's it for? Why do you want to write it? Why do you want to write it? Like for you, or maybe why do you not want to write it? And thinking about it from a kind of really unjudgmental, kind of, this is a thing that I have to do, but more of a curiosity based thing. Does that make sense?
It does. I like the idea of a different medium, because I have discovered that I do a lot of my thinking out loud. So I like having discussions with people, and that's how I form my ideas and firm things up.
Yeah.
And I think when I'm writing, it doesn't flow quite in the same way. I have to have already got a coherent thought to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the idea of just talking and recording this out loud, but I hate listening to the audio back. So I don't know how that's going to work.
Listen to it on like 1.5 or 0.75 times. And I know that sounds like a really weird thing to do, but like I listen to all audio at least 1.5, because I, as mentioned, have ADHD and I can't sit there and listen to it at normal. But also then if I'm listening to my own voice, I don't sound quite like me. And if you slow it down as well, if you're like, oh, I need to actually take notes on this, and so I'm going to slow it down. Again, it's not like listening to your voice, it's like listening to somebody else's. And so you can kind of turn it into things. So like speed it up, or just put it straight into a transcription service.
I was thinking about that. Yeah. I might just do that. But I like listening to it at different speed. I often listen faster. Audiobooks go a lot quicker.
And if you're listening, I found as well, because I really, I mean, this is an awesome, like my little fidget toy is a thing. Sorry. But if I'm listening to stuff with an actual purpose, so if I'm listening to stuff and I'm like, well, I need to, so for instance, listening back to my podcast when I'm pulling snippets out for Harriet to turn into social media bits, I know I have to listen to that and then like stop it and start it, or I know I have to actually take notes. I can find that a little bit easier to do because I'm not just listening to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense.
But kind of pulling it back to what you were asking originally, it's like, absolutely have a conversation with somebody, find somebody that you trust to ask you really annoying questions about the book that you're thinking of writing, or the books. Because if you can get like Joe, my husband Joe is brilliant for this kind of thing, because he will be super annoying in the best kind of way, and he'll be like, well, why do you want to write about that? Well, okay, but why? And he'll like really poke at me until I've really got down to either actually I don't want to write about it at all, or until I've really got down to the like kernel of why it was important to me in the first place. And sometimes it then goes in a different direction and I know what I'm going to do. So if you can find somebody to be super annoying about it, that's a really, really useful thing to be able to do, and get them to question everything. It has to be somebody that you trust to do that without having a flaming row with, obviously. But that can be a really helpful way to figure out, actually, is this a book that I really want to write? Because it's, yes, your inner voice is going to do that, but the outer voice will pick on stuff that you won't have necessarily pulled out yourself. And so this is one of the things, by the way, for everybody listening, this is one of the things that I do with clients in longer sessions like this, is that I will be that irritating person that asks those really pointy questions. And it's so valuable. And I get other people to do that for me as well, like not just Joe, other people too. So getting those questions out of your head and from a different perspective, and being able to think about them from the outside, and from somebody else's point of view is really, really helpful, because it can show you, so if I can't even be asked to argue my point on like an idea, then I know that that's not the book for me at the moment. But if I get really like, oh my god, this is just a thing that I need to, then it's quite a good sign that it's probably got some legs and is something that I want to pursue. I'm also going to swerve that around, because I think mixed in with all of this, mixed in with your challenge, is that whole I haven't got time to do it, right? Because you've got all the other stuff going on. Totes, you've got a lot going on, and I get people. It's a very common question, and so that can stop you from getting started as well, especially that coupled with the, oh, I'm not sure if this is the right idea for me. So again, it's like as soon as you get that, get your idea cemented and you're like, this is what I want to write about, then you can start breaking it down, and then you can start realizing that actually you don't need more than an hour a day, if that, and even less than that, like 20 minutes a day is enough to write a book, and it totally is. And so when you start to kind of break it down and have that plan, and it's like, and I know that this is, I get that this is one of the things that you might find difficult, but one of the things that I have really found helped me is I don't have everything like meticulously planned out, but I do have options for each day. So it's like, today I want to write about one of these 3 things to do with my book. It doesn't have to be that thing, but it can be one of these things. And that then gives me options, so that my brain is like, oh, if it wants to rebel against the whole doing a thing, it can do a slightly different thing. And also linked into that is the content thing. There's no reason why you can't do both at the same time, because the content, write content based on the idea that you want to put in your book, and then it's behind the scenes stuff. And I'm a big fan of repurposing and upcycling, and eventually the stuff that you put out as content is gonna present differently in the book, because you'll have written it differently and it'll be edited and all the rest of it. But there's no reason why you can't put those things together. So it's not like I have to do this and this and this and this. It's like this one thing can be these 3 different things. That makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And I had been thinking about that with the content, because I do need to work through things to figure out stuff. I was like, that's another way of not quite verbalizing, but doing it in a different way. That I thought might be helpful, especially like the social media posts that I've given up on a little bit, because it just, right now it feels like an awful lot of effort every day, and then it just disappears. And I hate that, because I just don't have enough time, or I don't feel like I have enough time.
So maybe having a wider purpose for the content will help you to do the content. Because it's like, even though it does disappear, and I get that, but then you've got it to use elsewhere as well as part of the book.
Yeah,
and you've got
I'm not
that,
very, I've not been historically very good at repurposing my content. I create it from new every time.
I used to struggle with that as well, but I've started keeping a better tabs on what I've made, which makes it like, I don't know about you, but part of my problem was, I've got to go and look for that thing that I know is somewhere and I don't know where it is. And so I now have a really nerdy filing system for all of my stuff, and it works 75% of the time now. I'm getting it there, so that can work. But okay, so we are pretty much out of time. So your takeaway, I know, just mini ones these are, but yeah. So I think that your takeaway, the thing that you could go away and do, is have that conversation with somebody about your book ideas, record it, and see what comes out of it. See how you feel about it at the end. And then you can start to think, maybe I have got time to do this. Maybe I can combine a few things. Maybe I can take that idea, and the content that I want to be creating but I'm not creating has now got a longer term purpose. So it's going towards something instead of just being content that I need to create.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yay!
Friends and family should look out for the questions.
Amazing. Yay. Let me know how you go. I'm so glad that I could help. And if people want to find out more about you, where do they need to go?
So anything Tails We Win. So tailswewin.dog for my website. But yeah, at Tails We Win, freaking everywhere. You'll find me. Well, you won't find me. I am not the face of the business. You will find a little funky dog image instead.
Amazing. I will tag Kelly in all of the socials where this goes out as well, so you'll be able to find her that way, and I'll pop the website address down there. I love the fact that it ends in .dog. That makes me smile. So thank you so much for bringing your question, Kelly, and for sharing it with all of the live people, and all of the people who will watch it on live. And if you too, dear listener, would like a hot seat of your own, then please go to moxiebooks.co.uk/bang for your book hot seat with hyphens in the middle of those words, because I am a balloon animal when it comes to URLs. So, but I would love to help you solve a little book writing problem. Otherwise, you can you should totally join my email list as well, by the way, at notes in the margin. So moxiebooks.co.uk/notes in the margin, again with awkward hyphens. And I will be back in a couple of weeks with a brand new Bang for Your Book hot seat. Maybe it'll be you. Thank you, Kelly. I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Oh God, awkward.